They laughed the moment she picked up the gun. "You're holding it all wrong," they sneered. But she didn't flinch. 10 shots later, every single bullet split the bullseye dead center. Silence crashed down like thunder. Welcome to Dignity Tales. Let's uncover what really happened. The sun was just beginning to rise over the small town shooting range, casting long shadows across the dusty parking lot. A woman stepped out of her modest car, dressed simply in a faded denim jacket, comfortable sneakers, and jeans worn soft from years of use. She carried a small, well-worn bag slung over her shoulder, the only indication of her serious intent. Her name was Emily Carter. She wasn't new to challenges, but this was something different. For years, Emily had lived a quiet life, working a humble job, raising her 2 children, and holding a dream tucked away deep inside her heart: to learn how to shoot. Not just to shoot, but to master the craft. Emily's fascination with firearms had started years ago. Watching documentaries, reading manuals, and quietly practicing with old wooden replicas, she longed for a chance to prove herself. Not for glory, not for competition, but for her own sense of accomplishment and peace. Now, at 38 years old, she had decided to take the first step. The shooting range was alive with the sounds of cracking shots and murmured conversations. Groups of seasoned marksmen gathered, sharing tips and critiques. Their faces were sharp, their stance confident, and their eyes sharp enough to miss nothing. Emily's modest appearance seemed to stick out like a sore thumb among the leather jackets, camouflage gear, and heavy-duty boots. She felt the weight of curious stares and whispered comments as she approached the registration desk. The clerk gave her a polite but distracted smile, handing her a form and the rules of the range. Emily signed, her fingers steady despite the flutter of nerves in her chest. Walking toward the lanes, she felt the unmistakable weight of skepticism. Whispers followed her footsteps. Does she really know what she's doing? Looks like she's out of her depth. But Emily kept her head high, reminding herself that every expert had once been a beginner. This was more than just shooting. It was a test of will, a journey from doubt to belief. The first shot was hers to make. Emily stepped onto the concrete pad where the shooting lanes stretched out in neat rows. The scent of gunpowder mixed with the early morning air, sharp and electric. Around her, men and women moved with practiced ease, loading magazines, checking sights, and sharing quiet nods of approval. The sound of repeated gunfire echoed like a steady heartbeat. Her heart pounded with anticipation, but she kept her breathing slow and steady. She glanced down at the pistol in her hands, a rental from the range. The metal was cool against her palm, heavier than she expected. She adjusted her grip, trying to remember the lessons she'd read about, but the doubt gnawed at her. Would she look foolish? Could she really do this? A group of men nearby turned their heads as she positioned herself at the firing line. One of them, a tall man with a bushy beard and camo jacket, muttered loud enough for her to hear, "Bet she's going to hold it all wrong. Watch the train wreck." The others snickered quietly, their eyes gleaming with amusement. Emily's cheeks flushed, but she didn't respond. Instead, she focused on the target at the end of the lane, a stark paper silhouette with concentric rings and a small bullseye. She reminded herself, steady hands, calm breath, clear mind. She raised the pistol, fingers trembling slightly. The unfamiliarity of the stance and grip made her feel awkward, but she steadied herself. A voice from behind her offered a simple instruction: how to align the sights, how to control her trigger pull. She turned to see a woman about her age, eyes kind and encouraging. "Don't worry about how you hold it," the woman said softly. "Focus on what feels natural to you. Shooting isn't just technique, it's feeling." Emily nodded, grateful for the kindness. She exhaled and squeezed the trigger. The gun cracked sharply. The shot echoed in her ears. She lowered the pistol and looked downrange, eyes scanning the paper target. A single hole near the outer rings, not perfect but a hit nonetheless. The men nearby exchanged surprised glances. Another scoffed, but the mood had shifted slightly. Emily felt a spark of hope ignite. She was just getting started. The sharp crack of gunfire echoed again as Emily prepared for her second shot. Around her, the murmur of voices grew louder, not with encouragement, but with thinly veiled amusement. The group of seasoned shooters eyed her with skepticism, whispering among themselves, the words sharp as the targets they aimed at. "That's not how you hold a pistol," one of the men said loudly, his tone dripping with derision. His voice carried enough for Emily to hear, making her cheeks flush a deeper shade. "You're gripping it all wrong. Bet she's going to miss the whole target." His words were met with quiet chuckles. Another woman, dressed in tactical gear, shook her head in mock pity. "Poor thing looks like she's playing dress-up. Shouldn't even be allowed here." Emily's fingers tightened around the pistol grip, but her face remained calm. She knew their judgment was less about her skills and more about their own pride, a protective wall built on years of practice and competition. But beneath their scorn, a tiny ember of doubt flickered inside her. The shooter with the bushy beard stepped closer and pointed at her stance. "You got to keep your arms steady, elbows locked, shoulders square. Otherwise, you're just asking for failure." His voice lowered to a sneer. "Want me to show you how it's done?" Before she could answer, the woman in tactical gear laughed again. "No, let him embarrass her. It'll be good for the rest of us." Emily inhaled deeply, blocking out their voices like a fog. She focused solely on the target, on the white circle that promised nothing but possibility. This was her moment. No matter how they tried to make her feel small, she wasn't here to please anyone but herself. Her finger found the trigger again. The shot rang out, louder this time, more confident. A bullet hole appeared, closer to the bullseye than before. The laughter faded, replaced by startled silence. The crowd's energy shifted, confusion rippling through the group. Emily lowered the pistol and met their eyes, steady, unbroken. They might have mocked her grip, her stance, even her presence. But she had just hit the target, and this time it was impossible to ignore. The murmurs around the shooting lane shifted from mockery to uneasy curiosity. Emily felt their eyes on her, measuring, waiting for the inevitable falter. But she refused to give them the satisfaction. Instead, she took a slow, deliberate breath, feeling the weight of the pistol in her hand and the steady rhythm of her heartbeat. Her stance, though unorthodox in the eyes of the crowd, was steady. Her grip, though ridiculed, was firm and precise. She knew she didn't need to fit their mold. She only needed to hit the target. With each passing second, she could feel a quiet resolve settling deeper inside her, like a fire that refused to be snuffed out. The group of shooters had gathered in a semicircle now, their laughter replaced with whispers of disbelief. No one had expected her to last beyond the first few shots, let alone land a hit near the bullseye. But Emily wasn't here to prove them wrong. She was here to prove something to herself. Her fingers wrapped around the pistol, and her eyes locked onto the target's center. The world around her faded, the snickers and stares melting into silence. In that moment, it was just her, the gun, and the goal. Click! The first of 10 shots. Each pull of the trigger was deliberate, a careful dance of breath control, muscle memory, and unwavering focus. When the 10th bullet hit the paper, the group's disbelief turned to stunned silence. Every single shot was dead center, each bullet splitting the one before it. For a moment, no one moved. The man with the bushy beard blinked in surprise. The woman in tactical gear dropped her mouth open. Even the quiet mentors who'd watched from afar leaned in, a flickering in their eyes. Emily lowered the gun gently, a faint smile brushing her lips. She didn't gloat or boast. Her victory was silent, powerful, and undeniable. In that instant, she shattered every expectation. She wasn't just a simple woman holding a gun wrong. She was a marksman in her own right, and she was just getting started. The crack of the pistol shattered the quiet tension that had settled over the range. Emily's first shot pierced the air with precision, a clean, sharp sound that echoed off the distant hills. She lowered the weapon and squinted toward the paper target pinned on the wooden frame. Her heart skipped a beat. The bullet hole was closer to the center than she had dared hope. Nestled near the bullseye, a tiny victory in a sea of doubt. Around her, the crowd stirred. A few exchanged glances, eyebrows raised in surprise. But before anyone could voice their astonishment, a chorus of scoffs broke out from the row of experienced shooters. The tall man with the bushy beard snorted loudly. "Beginner's luck," he muttered, shaking his head. "That grip is all wrong." She couldn't replicate that shot if her life depended on it. Another shooter, a woman clad in camo gear, rolled her eyes. Sure, she hit it once, but that was a fluke. Wait until she tries again. Emily felt the sting of their disbelief, but she held her ground. Her fingers remained steady, the weight of the pistol balanced carefully in her hand. She was determined to prove it wasn't luck, it was skill. The second shot came next. She took her time, breathing evenly, steadying her arms, and aligning the sights with practiced care. The trigger squeezed smoothly, sending the bullet flying with purpose. Again, the hole appeared, even closer to the bullseye this time. A murmur rippled through the observers. Some faces tightened with disbelief. Others looked genuinely impressed, but unwilling to admit it aloud. One of the veterans whispered to his companion, "That's not bad for a newbie." Emily's pulse quickened, not from nerves, but from the thrill of progress. She knew this was just the beginning, but already the landscape was shifting beneath her feet. The ridicule hadn't disappeared, but now it carried a tinge of uncertainty. Her quiet confidence was growing, fueled by the undeniable proof of her aim. She raised the pistol again, steady and sure, ready to make her next shot count. The shooting range, once alive with the rhythm of gunfire and focused determination, had transformed into a battlefield of whispered judgments and thinly veiled condescension. Emily stood poised, the pistol firm in her hand, but the atmosphere thickened with skepticism. The veterans who had mocked her initially now circled like wary predators, their eyes sharp, voices hushed but sharp with critique. "That grip is all wrong," one declared, his tone biting as he watched her carefully. "You'll never shoot consistently with a stance like that." Another chimed in, voice dripping with disbelief. "She's lucky if she can even hit the paper, let alone the bullseye. This isn't a toy. It's a skill, honed through years of discipline." Emily's cheeks burned, not with embarrassment, but with a simmering determination. Their words, meant to cut her down, only fueled her resolve. She had heard this before, the doubt, the dismissal, but she knew deep inside that her path was different. A man stepped forward, arms crossed, his voice louder now to command attention. "Shooting is about technique, muscle memory. You have to train your body to move right, to hold the gun properly. Otherwise, you're just wasting everyone's time." His words hung in the air, met with nods and murmurs from the group. But Emily remained still, her gaze steady. Technique or not, the shots she'd made told a different story, one of instinct, focus, and heart. "Maybe she's onto something new," a quieter voice whispered from the back. But it was quickly drowned out by another scoff. Undeterred, Emily took a deep breath, steadying her nerves and her grip. She raised the pistol once more, fingers steady as steel, eyes locked on the target. The trigger squeezed. Another shot fired. Another mark made. The undeniable proof echoed louder than their judgments. She was no fluke. She was just beginning. Amid the murmurs of doubt and the harsh whispers of criticism, a quiet presence emerged from the sidelines. A woman in her early 40s, with a calm demeanor and years of experience etched into the lines around her eyes, stepped forward. Her name was Grace Miller, a seasoned shooter known in the community for her steady hand and thoughtful guidance. Grace observed Emily for a moment, noting the determination beneath the newcomer's unconventional stance and grip. Unlike the others, she saw potential rather than folly. Approaching Emily gently, Grace offered a warm smile and spoke in a low, encouraging tone. "Your technique may be different, but it's working. Don't let their opinions shake you." She gestured subtly toward Emily's grip. "There's more than one way to hold a gun effectively. It's about finding what works for you and mastering it." Emily felt a rush of relief wash over her. For the first time that day, she wasn't met with ridicule, but with understanding. Grace's words carried weight, a validation from someone who had walked the path before. Over the next few minutes, Grace shared tips and small adjustments, not insisting on conformity, but on precision and confidence. She spoke of breath control, trigger squeeze, and stance, tailoring advice to complement Emily's natural style. Nearby, the skeptical crowd watched, some with surprise, others with grudging respect. Grace's presence subtly shifted the mood, reminding everyone that skill often came wrapped in unexpected forms. Emily soaked in the advice, feeling her confidence swell. The mentor's gentle encouragement was the anchor she needed amidst the storm of doubt. As Grace stepped back, she gave Emily a reassuring nod. "Keep practicing. Trust yourself." Emily nodded, gripping her pistol tighter, ready to face the next challenge. The path ahead was still daunting, but now she walked it with quiet strength and a newfound ally. After that pivotal day at the range, Emily returned home with a sense of purpose she hadn't felt in years. The sting of ridicule still lingered, but Grace's words echoed in her mind, fueling a fire that would not be easily extinguished. Determined to improve on her own terms, Emily set up a small practice area in her backyard, a modest space shielded by tall hedges and fences that kept prying eyes away. She fashioned makeshift targets from old cardboard and paper, each one a silent challenge to her growing resolve. Every evening, after the day's work and family duties, she would retreat to her sanctuary. Her neighbors might see a woman who seemed ordinary, but behind closed doors, Emily was a student of precision and patience. Her grip, once mocked and dismissed, became something she refined carefully. She experimented with angles, pressure, and stance, all while embracing the unique style that felt natural to her body and mind. Hours turned into days. Mistakes were made, and frustration followed, but Emily remained steadfast. She understood that mastery was a journey, not a race. Grace's advice replayed in her mind. Trust yourself. It was more than encouragement. It was a mantra that anchored her practice sessions. Though the world outside remained skeptical, Emily's quiet determination grew louder with every practice shot, every bullseye earned in solitude. The shooting range would soon see a new Emily, stronger, sharper, and ready to silence the doubters. Weeks later, Emily returned to the shooting range, her heart steady but her mind alive with anticipation. She walked in with a quiet confidence that hadn't been there before. No longer the unsure novice, but a woman shaped by countless hours of focused practice and self-belief. The familiar scent of gunpowder filled the air as the crowd looked up, whispers rippling through the gathered shooters. Many still remembered the day she arrived, their initial amusement replaced by a grudging curiosity. Some nodded respectfully, others watched with skeptical eyes, waiting to see if she would falter. Emily chose a lane at the far end, away from the circle of experienced marksmen. She unpacked her pistol carefully, the metal cool and familiar in her hands. Around her, the murmurs grew quieter as her composure commanded attention. A few of the previous critics approached, their smirks less certain. The tall, bearded man from before nodded curtly, but said nothing. The woman in tactical gear watched her with narrowed eyes. Emily raised her pistol, aligning her sights with steady hands. She took a deep breath, feeling the rhythm of her heartbeat slow as she steadied her aim. The trigger squeezed, and the first shot echoed like a promise. The bullet punched the paper right in the center of the bullseye. One by one, she fired again, each shot hitting dead center, splitting the mark of the previous bullet. The crowd grew silent, their disbelief evident. Whispers turned to murmurs of respect. Emily's challenge wasn't just to herself anymore. It was to everyone watching, to prove that skill transcended appearance, that determination could defy expectations. As the 10th bullet hit the target, a perfect string of precision, the room erupted into a stunned silence, broken only by slow, appreciative claps. Emily lowered the gun, the quiet victor of a battle she had waged in silence and strength. The applause that rippled through the range was tentative at first, like the cautious recognition of a rare moment. Emily felt her pulse steady as the last echo of the 10th shot faded away. She lowered the pistol, her fingers still firm but relaxed, and looked up at the circle of faces now turned toward her, some wide-eyed, others nodding in respect. Her heart beat in quiet rhythm with the pounding excitement in the room. Each shot had been a small victory, not just over the target, but over every doubt cast her way. She had faced more than skepticism. She had faced outright disdain, and yet here she was, standing tall and unshaken. She recalled Grace's words, "Trust yourself." Those words had been a lifeline, a steady hand guiding her through moments of uncertainty. Now, they felt like a declaration she belonged here. Her breathing, once shallow and hurried, now matched the calmness in her gaze. She felt the weight of the pistol as an extension of herself, not a foreign object. Her stance was firm yet fluid, her body aligned with purpose. As the crowd's whispers softened into murmurs of encouragement, Emily allowed herself a brief smile. This was more than hitting the bullseye 10 times in a row. It was the triumph of persistence, of quiet courage in the face of ridicule. The skeptics were no longer just watching. Some were listening. And in that charged silence, a new chapter was being written, one where determination and heart mattered as much as tradition and technique. Emily glanced toward the range owner, who nodded approvingly from a distance. She had not only hit the target, she had hit a nerve, challenging the old guard to rethink what it meant to be a shooter. Steady hands, steady heart, ready for whatever came next. Emily's fingers tingled with anticipation as she raised the pistol for her next shot. The room held its breath with her. The skeptics, the curious, even those who had silently hoped she might prove them wrong. Her grip felt natural now, her stance solid, and her breath steady. She aligned the sights carefully, focusing not on the crowd, but on the small white bullseye that beckoned from the target. Her finger pressed the trigger with calm resolve. The sharp report of the gunshot echoed through the range, breaking the silence. A hush fell as everyone's eyes darted to the paper target. There, surrounded by the concentric rings, was a perfect hole, right in the very center of the bullseye. Gasps rippled through the onlookers. The man who had mocked her earliest took a step back, disbelief etched across his rugged face. Whispers turned into murmurs of surprise, then into cautious applause. Emily lowered the pistol, allowing herself a quiet smile. It wasn't luck. It was skill. The shooting range, once a place where she'd been the subject of scorn and judgment, now felt like the stage for something new, a story unfolding with every precise shot. Her first bullseye wasn't just a mark on paper. It was a statement to everyone who had doubted her. It was proof that appearances could deceive and quiet determination could shatter expectations. As she prepared for the next shot, Emily's confidence swelled. The journey ahead was still long, but this moment was hers, a milestone that marked the beginning of a remarkable transformation. The crowd watched in stunned silence as Emily took aim again, the pistol steady in her hand. The tension was thick, some eyes filled with skepticism, others with disbelief. But she ignored the shifting moods, focusing only on the target before her. Each shot she fired split the quiet of the range, a crisp and clear affirmation of her skill. One by one, the bullets found their home at the very center of the bullseye, each hole overlapping the last like a perfect seam. The murmurs grew louder, rippling into whispers of admiration that spread among the onlookers. The man who had once mocked her grip exchanged uneasy glances with his companions. The woman clad in tactical gear shifted uncomfortably, no longer sure what to say. Emily's heart beat in sync with the rhythm of her shots, steady, measured, unstoppable. She wasn't just defying expectations. She was rewriting the narrative of who could be a marksman. The final bullet rang out with the same precision as the first, marking the 10th consecutive bullseye. The silence that followed was profound, broken only by the soft shuffle of feet and the clearing of throats. Slowly, applause began to rise. It was tentative at first, but quickly grew into genuine, heartfelt clapping. Emily lowered her pistol, her expression calm but radiant with quiet pride. She had arrived as an underdog, underestimated and dismissed. Now, she stood as a force to be reckoned with, a symbol of perseverance and excellence in the face of doubt. The shooting range had witnessed something rare that day. A simple woman proving that skill and determination were the true marks of a champion. The applause echoed around the shooting range, reverberating off the concrete walls and ricocheting through the minds of everyone present. Emily stood silently, allowing the moment to settle over the crowd like a slow dawn. The sneers and doubts that had shadowed her arrival now gave way to hesitant respect. For many of the seasoned shooters, this was an unexpected jolt to their carefully held beliefs. The woman they had dismissed as clumsy and inexperienced had just proven herself with a flawless display of accuracy. A simple woman, holding the gun wrong by their standards, had shattered their assumptions one shot at a time. Whispers spread through the ranks. "Did you see that grip? It's unconventional but effective. I never thought she had it in her. Maybe there's more than one way to be a good shooter." Even the man with the bushy beard and the tactical-clad woman exchanged uncertain looks. They had been so sure of their superiority, yet now they found themselves questioning what they thought they knew. Emily felt the shift in the air, the subtle loosening of old certainties. It wasn't just her aim that was changing the game. It was the quiet strength she carried, the steady hands and unyielding heart that refused to back down. As a young shooter approached to offer a genuine nod of approval, Emily allowed herself a small, knowing smile. This was the turning point, the moment when ridicule turned to recognition and the path ahead was cleared of doubt. No longer the outsider, she was becoming a respected figure, an inspiration to those who dared to challenge the norms and trust their own unique talents. Her journey was far from over, but this day marked a powerful beginning. The energy in the shooting range had transformed. What was once a sea of skeptics now buzzed with a new kind of excitement, curiosity mixed with respect. Emily felt it ripple through the air as she lowered her pistol, her eyes meeting those who had once doubted her. Among the crowd stood Jake Harper, a respected champion of the local shooting circuit, known for his precision and traditional technique. His reputation was solid, and many looked to him as a standard-bearer of the sport. Jake approached Emily with a measured smile, nodding in acknowledgement. "Impressive shooting," he said. "Not many can hold their own here, let alone turn heads like you did today." Emily returned the smile, steady but confident. "Thanks. I've been working hard." A hush fell over the spectators as Jake's eyes gleamed with a challenge. "How about we make this interesting? A friendly match, your style against mine. 10 shots each. Winner takes the bragging rights." The crowd murmured in approval, eager to witness the contest. Emily's pulse quickened, but her expression remained calm. This was the moment she'd been preparing for, a chance to prove herself not just against the skeptics, but against one of the best. She nodded. "You're on." The stage was set. As they took their positions, the tension was electric. All eyes were fixed on the unfolding duel, the clash of tradition and tenacity. Emily inhaled deeply, fingers gripping the pistol with quiet resolve. She was ready to show that mastery came in many forms, and that determination could rewrite even the most rigid rules. The first shot was about to fire. The shooting range fell into a charged silence as Emily and Jake took their positions side by side. The crowd clustered close, sensing the tension and excitement of the impending duel. This was more than just a friendly match. It was a symbolic clash, tradition versus tenacity, conformity versus courage. Jake adjusted his grip with practiced ease, his stance textbook perfect. His eyes narrowed, focused solely on the target ahead. He exuded confidence, the kind earned from countless competitions and years of training. Emily steadied her breath, feeling the weight of the pistol settle naturally into her hands. Her grip was different, yes, unconventional, but every part of her was aligned with purpose. Her heart beat steady and calm beneath the surface of focused determination. The range officer gave the signal. Jake fired first. The sharp crack of the pistol rang out, and all eyes tracked the bullet's path. The shot hit dead center, a perfect bullseye that elicited appreciative murmurs from crowd. Emily took a moment to center herself, then squeezed the trigger. The shot echoed crisply, landing just a fraction inside Jake's mark. A near-perfect split. Back and forth they went, shot after shot, the rhythm building like a silent dance. Jake's form was flawless, but Emily's precision was undeniable. 10 rounds each, and the scoreboard was close. By the final shots, the crowd was leaning in, breaths held tight. Emily's 10th bullet split the bullseye arrow in two, a stunning feat of accuracy that drew gasps and applause. Jake lowered his pistol, eyes wide with admiration. "You've got skill and guts," he said with a grin. Emily smiled back, humility and pride mingling in her gaze. "Thanks. It's not about how you hold the gun. It's about how you hold your focus." The duel was over, but the impact was just beginning. Emily had proven that strength comes from within, and sometimes breaking the rules leads to greatness. The final echoes of gunfire faded, leaving a charged silence hanging over the range. Emily and Jake stood side by side, their pistols lowered but their spirits soaring. The crowd was caught between disbelief and admiration. The underdog had not only held her own, but had delivered a stunning performance that none could ignore. Jake extended his hand with genuine respect. "You earned this," he said, his voice steady. "I've faced a lot of shooters, but few with your kind of focus and grit." Emily shook his hand firmly, a quiet smile gracing her lips. This moment wasn't just about winning a match. It was about reclaiming her dignity, shattering the prejudice that had followed her every step. The murmurs around the range shifted, now full of praise and acceptance. Those who had jeered now approached with nods of approval, some even offering tips and stories of their own early struggles. Emily felt a swell of pride, but remained grounded. She knew this was just one chapter in a longer journey. Yet, for the first time, the path ahead looked brighter, paved with respect earned through resilience. The shooting range, once a place of ridicule, had transformed into a stage for her triumph. Her unique style, once scorned, was now recognized as effective, a testament to the power of self-belief. As the crowd dispersed, many approached Emily, eager to learn from her example. She welcomed them with warmth, ready to inspire others who faced doubt. In that victory, Emily found not only validation, but a purpose to prove that strength comes in many forms, and every journey is worth fighting for. News of Emily's stunning performance at the shooting range spread quickly, first through whispered conversations among local enthusiasts, then across social media platforms. Clips of her 10 perfect bullseyes and the intense duel with Jake Harper began to circulate, sparking widespread fascination and debate. Local news outlets picked up the story, portraying Emily as the unexpected star who challenged tradition and proved that passion and determination could outshine conventional technique. Headlines hailed her as the underdog marksman and the woman who changed the game. Emily found herself the subject of interviews, podcasts, and community discussions. While some praised her groundbreaking success, others remained skeptical, questioning whether her style could sustain such excellence. Through it all, Emily remained humble and focused. She used the growing spotlight to share her message. That skill is personal, and perseverance often defies expectation. The media attention brought new challenges and opportunities alike. Invitations to shooting clubs and competitions arrived, as did requests for her to speak about her journey. While the public watched, Emily quietly returned to the range, practicing and preparing for the new phase of her story. The critics' voices had grown quieter, replaced by curiosity and admiration. Her quiet victory had blossomed into a movement, one that celebrated diversity, resilience, and the power of breaking barriers. With the growing media attention, Emily found herself under a new kind of spotlight, one that came with its own weight and challenges. The admiration was real, but so too were the whispers of doubt that followed her rise. Skeptics questioned if her success was a mere fluke, a lucky streak destined to fade. Interviews became more frequent, and each public appearance tested her resolve. Some reporters pressed for sensational angles, while others subtly doubted her staying power. "Can she keep this up?" they asked. "Is this just a moment or a lasting change?" Emily felt the pressure mounting. The carefree confidence she'd built over months of practice was now tempered by the eyes of a wider audience. Yet beneath it all, her quiet determination remained unshaken. She reminded herself daily why she started this journey. Not for fame or validation, but to prove to herself that she could break free from others' expectations. That simple truth became her anchor amidst the growing storm. Friends and supporters rallied around her, offering encouragement and grounding advice. Grace, her mentor, was a steady presence, reminding her to focus on the process, not the noise. Emily continued her practice sessions with renewed focus, each shot a reaffirmation of her commitment. The critics' voices were background static she refused to let drown her inner voice. In facing new pressure, Emily found strength, proving that true resilience isn't just about winning once, but about standing firm through every challenge that follows. Despite the swirling attention and mounting expectations, Emily remained grounded in the values that had fueled her journey from the start. She refused to let the newfound spotlight alter who she was or why she pursued shooting in the first place. Every morning, she woke early to meditate and center herself, reconnecting with the quiet resolve that had carried her through ridicule and doubt. Her family's unwavering support provided an unshakable foundation, reminding her that her worth extended far beyond any bullseye or headline. At the range, Emily continued to practice with humility and focus. She welcomed newcomers who approached her with curiosity and skepticism alike, offering encouragement without arrogance. Her story had become a beacon, inspiring others to trust their own paths. The simplicity of her routine, the feel of the pistol in her hands, the rhythm of steady breath, the satisfying crack of a well-placed shot, kept her rooted. Fame might fluctuate, and critics might whisper, but her purpose remained clear and unwavering. Emily's mentor, Grace, often reminded her, skill isn't just about technique, it's about heart and honesty. Stay true to yourself, and you'll never lose. As opportunities for competitions and appearances increased, Emily chose carefully, ensuring each step aligned with her values. She knew the journey was ongoing, a lifetime of learning and growth. Through it all, Emily stood firm, a simple woman who had transformed doubt into triumph, and who continued to carry her quiet strength into every shot fired. Emily's journey began to ripple beyond the shooting range, reaching others who, like her, had once felt underestimated and overlooked. Her story became a symbol of quiet strength, resilience, and the power of believing in oneself despite judgment. New shooters approached her with hesitant smiles, seeking advice and encouragement. Many had faced similar doubts, told they didn't belong or that their style was wrong. Emily welcomed them warmly, sharing her experiences and reminding them that skill could take many forms. She began organizing informal gatherings and workshops, creating a space where everyone could learn without fear of ridicule. The shooting range slowly transformed into a community of diverse talents, united by respect and mutual support. Parents brought their children, eager to see someone who had overcome obstacles through patience and determination. Veterans and young beginners alike found inspiration in Emily's journey. Her influence extended beyond technique. She encouraged confidence, self-expression, and perseverance. Emily's quiet leadership began shaping a new culture, one where unconventional methods were embraced and every voice mattered. Though she remained humble, Emily knew her impact was profound. Her victories were not just personal triumphs, but catalysts for change. With every shot fired and every new shooter inspired, Emily was rewriting the rules, proving that courage and heart could reshape even the most rigid traditions. Emily's influence on the shooting community grew steadily, evolving from whispered admiration into a lasting legacy. The workshops she started became regular events, drawing shooters from all walks of life who wanted to learn, share, and grow together. Local clubs invited her to speak, and she became a trusted mentor for countless newcomers facing the same doubts and dismissals she once endured. Her message of perseverance, and authenticity resonated deeply. It was about more than hitting bullseyes. It was about overcoming barriers and redefining what success looked like. Range owners began rethinking their training programs, embracing more inclusive approaches that welcomed different techniques and styles. Emily's story inspired policy changes and outreach initiatives that aimed to create safer, more supportive environments for all. She was invited to national competitions, not just as a competitor, but as a symbol of change. Though the spotlight sometimes felt overwhelming, Emily remained grounded in the quiet strength that had brought her this far. Her name became synonymous with resilience and the power of belief. Young women and men who had felt marginalized now looked up to her as proof that true skill is born from passion, not conformity. Emily understood that her journey was part of a larger story, one that stretched far beyond the range, touching lives and shifting mindsets. The legacy she was building wasn't just about shooting. It was about hope, courage, and the unyielding spirit of the underdog. In the quiet solitude of her home, Emily sat by the window, watching the sun dip below the horizon. The gentle glow cast warm shadows across the room, reflecting the calm she had cultivated within herself after months of relentless growth and challenge. She thought back to the first day she had walked onto the shooting range, nervous, unsure, burdened by the weight of others' judgments. How far she had come since then. The ridicule, the doubts, the whispers, they all seemed like distant echoes now, overshadowed by the strength she had discovered deep inside. Emily smiled softly, recalling the moment when the crowd had fallen silent after her 10th perfect shot. That stillness had been more powerful than applause, a quiet acknowledgement of her journey. She reflected on the friendships forged, the mentors who had guided her, and the many new shooters she had inspired. Her life had changed in ways she never imagined. Not because she mastered a gun, but because she had mastered belief in herself. Yet, she knew the journey was ongoing. Each day brought new lessons, new challenges, and new opportunities to grow. The path wasn't about perfection, but persistence. Emily looked ahead with hope, ready to embrace whatever came next, confident that her story was not just about hitting targets, but about breaking barriers and inspiring others to do the same. In that quiet moment, she felt a deep sense of gratitude for the struggles, the victories, and the unwavering spirit that carried her forward. Emily's story had sparked something powerful within the shooting community, and now, as she stood before a gathering of instructors and enthusiasts, she felt the weight of responsibility mingled with hope. The range was no longer just a place for practice. It was becoming a hub for change. Plans were underway to launch inclusive training programs designed to welcome shooters of all styles and backgrounds. Emily had joined forces with local leaders to develop workshops that celebrated diversity and nurtured confidence, breaking down barriers that had long kept many away. The community's shift was palpable. Instructors were embracing new techniques, valuing personal expression alongside discipline. The range was evolving from a battleground of judgment into a sanctuary of support. Emily often reflected on how her unique grip and approach, once scorned, had paved the way for others to find their own voices. Her vision extended beyond competition. It was about creating a lasting culture of respect and encouragement. As she oversaw the first inclusive class, watching nervous newcomers transform into confident shooters, Emily's heart swelled with pride. The future of the range was bright, a place where anyone with passion and dedication could thrive. This was more than a personal victory. It was a legacy of empowerment, ensuring that generations to come would inherit a community shaped by acceptance and possibility. The shooting range was bathed in the soft glow of late afternoon light, dust motes dancing gently in the air. Emily stood at the firing line, the familiar weight of her pistol resting confidently in her hand. Around her, a small group of supporters and fellow shooters gathered quietly, their eyes fixed on the unfolding moment. Before her, a single arrow was already lodged in the bullseye of a large target, a symbol of precision and mastery. Today, Emily aimed not just to hit the mark, but to split that arrow clean in two, an extraordinary feat that required unwavering focus and flawless technique. She took a deep breath, feeling the steady rhythm of her heartbeat settle into calm resolve. Her grip was firm yet relaxed, her stance rooted in months of dedication and quiet triumphs. The world seemed to narrow to just the target, the pistol, and her unwavering will. With deliberate care, she aligned her sights and squeezed the trigger. The shot rang out, sharp and true. Time seemed to slow as the bullet sped forward, striking the arrow dead center. The wooden shaft split neatly in two, a perfect demonstration of skill and control. A hush fell over the crowd, then erupted into spontaneous applause and cheers. Faces shone with awe and admiration, smiles breaking wide as the weight of the moment sank in. Emily allowed herself a rare smile, not one of boastfulness, but of quiet satisfaction and triumph. She had come so far from the woman who was once ridiculed for holding the gun wrong. This split bullseye was more than a mark on the target. It was a testament to resilience, courage, and the power of believing in oneself against all odds. As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the range, Emily's journey stood as a beacon, proof that sometimes the greatest victories come from rewriting the rules and trusting your own path.